Hello everyone, welcome to video 5 of the Van Hemert system book video series. And this will be the last video in which we're going to look at the fundamental shape, because after this chapter we're going to go into the more advanced stuff. And the procedure for this chapter and also this video is the same as the previous 4 chapters. It's just an introduction of the shape and then an exercise. So this shape captures again the altered sound on the dominant, but this time we're using not the Phrygian dominant scale like we did in chapter 4 with the fundamental shape number 4, but we're using parts of the altered scale. Now what the altered scale is exactly is not that important because we're not going to use that scale exactly. What we're going to use is a 5-note pattern. If we have E7, we're going to think about a major scale starting on the minor 6. So on E7 that will be a C major scale, right? But only the first 5 notes, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we're gonna go half step up. So it's a 6-note pattern. The 6-note pattern for E7 is this pattern. But now we're only gonna play it descending, so it's gonna be... And then we can play it over multiple octaves. Let's say we start here. That would be the 6-note pattern in 1 octave, and then we can do the same thing an octave lower. Right, and one more time. We can't go any lower. So that would be the fragment we're going to work with. This 6-note pattern, just in different octaves. Now, I'm not going to teach you all the possibilities because I don't use all the possibilities. Again, I'm thinking about chord tones. So form 1 starts on the root of E7, an E, that's right here. And then we're just going to play that pattern starting on this note. 3, 4... 3, 4. And sometimes I like to play it like this. So I play this, it's just an embellishment, right? It's when you put something in front of the shape, but this is one I use often. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or even start a beat earlier and play just triplets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Of course, you can start this complete thing with the embellishment on beat 1, so you shift everything. So like 1, 2, 3, 4. Form 2 is again same thing, but we're going to start on the 3rd of E7, which is a G sharp. Now I'm going to skip the G, so normally we would play, but I like to play it like this, 3, 4. That's just how I normally play it, so I could have shown you like, but I just like to play, and that's how most people actually play it, right? They play G sharp and then they skip the G and immediately go to the F. That's why you shouldn't focus too much on the theory, but just focus on these fingerings. Again, I like to play, or anything else you could come up with. These are just the embellishments, right? Now we go to form 3. Form 3 starts on the 5th of E7. That's a B and sounds like this. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I wrote it down like this to start on the beat, but actually I would start this on the 1 end. I would do 1, 2, 3, 4. So the B becomes an 8th note starting after the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. I would always play that. I would rarely do... It sounds a little bit unnatural to me, but you could practice it like that with a metronome, but then just realize I would usually do... Or 3, 4... Again with the embellishments. Now form 4 doesn't start on the 7th. I don't have a form that starts on the 7th for this shape. You might ask why not? Well, I searched but I couldn't find a decent fingering, so I just skipped that. I don't play this shape from the 7th. But I have another way to play it from the 5th. That's form 4. 3, 4, 3, 4. This is just form 2, but starting from the 5th. And now I jump to form 2. And that's how I would normally play it if I had my first finger on the 5th. Although it's also nice, but let's say 90% of the time probably do. Now again, you're gonna practice this with the metronome in the circle of fifths. So to give you some examples, let's say we have B flat 7 and I wanna play it from the 3rd. So I have to start on a D, form 2, 3, 4. Let's do E flat 7 starting from the 5th. I have 2 forms. So let's do form 3 starting on the 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or the other form. 3, 4. Okay, now the next step would be to connect this to diminished shapes up. So for example, first shape. I could connect this to or let's connect it to diminished shapes on the A string. 3, 4. From the B, or let's do it from the G sharp. So you have to search a little bit. In this case, I decided to play the low E and then go to the G sharp. But you can come up with lots of other ways to connect. You just connect all of these forms to diminished arpeggios on the low E or A string. So for example, let's do it with starting on the 3rd of E7. How about? Or let's do form 4. Now I just went down chromatically. Right, to connect to that B. So you just look at the neck and visually see where you have to go, and then just try out stuff that until you recognize something sounds nice, and then maybe you remember that. And you do it the other way around too, right? So you play diminished arpeggios up and go down with this scale. So for instance, let's say I play this diminished arpeggio up. Now I'm in form 2. Let's start on the B. Now I'm in form 4. Or go to form 3. And the goal is to get it very fluent, and then the ultimate goal is to get it in such good shape that you can connect the diminished arpeggios almost on the fly with both the Phrygian dominant and the altered scale, just continuously. So let's say you have a backing track with E7, right? Maybe you play something like this. Something like that, and there's many possibilities. There's almost unlimited ways to connect all of these together, because realize that you can always connect everything on the low E string, the high E string, and the A string, and then there is, for every fundamental shape, there's 4 forms, so you can really mold this into your own style of playing it. So you're not gonna make the same decisions that I make. You might sometimes, but you can sound different from me by making other connections. Because this is basically also what Stochelo, Rosenberg and Moses Rosenberg and Paul Shaver, really those Dutch style players, that's what they do a lot on dominant chords. But they each give their own distinct flavor to this system by making other connections, by using other embellishments. But that's something that you have to develop yourself. I'm just teaching you the basics of this system, and then you make your own connections to start developing your own style. Now let's go to exercise 5. And same thing as I said in the last video, the exercises become less and less relevant because you understand what you have to do. You have to just make up your own exercises. But I'm gonna play through it with the backing track, and then we can discuss a little bit. So what's happening? Well, I think you can get it. It actually says it under each shape where it's from. But you got to make your own exercises, and eventually you got to improvise. So let me just improvise a little bit with this backing track using fundamental shapes almost at random. But I will put extra emphasis on, of course, this shape, shape 5. That was mostly fundamental shapes. I did put some other stuff in there that we're going to talk about later, but in principle, you could make a solo on pretty much any standard with just these fundamental shapes. And that's definitely something you should attempt, not only with minor string, but also with other songs that you'll find, for instance, on my channel, my regular YouTube channel with my backing tracks. I'll put a link to all my backing tracks in the description, so you can maybe choose a song. Spend some time with the fundamental shapes, but maybe not too much time. Also get into the next chapter to get the next level shapes, because then it will get much more interesting. So I will see you all in video number 6. Bye.